everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Tuesday. I hope your guys' week is going well. Back at it with yet another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at this up and coming new moon in the sign of Gemini. If you guys like my content and you want to see more of it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell button below so you get alerts as to when I have videos on my YouTube. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. All right, don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Drop me a comment below and let me know how you're feeling with the new moon in Gemini, what your plans are for this powerful new moon. And consider sharing on your socials or follow me on X at BTV Astro. So we're going to have this new moon coming in on May 25th, 2025. It will be in the sign of Gemini at 6 degrees. So as you guys know, we have a new moon that takes place every month, roughly every 28 days. And the new moon is a time where the sun and the moon come into conjunction, and they are going to be basically symbolizing a fresh start. So we'll see some of the effects of this particular new moon play out over the next 2 to 4 weeks and all the way until we see a full moon, which will be in Gemini in 6 months' time. So this means it's a time for setting intentions. Great new moon for initiating projects, planting seeds for future growth. Obviously, new moons are also periods for introspection because it's all about renewal and kind of aligning with our inner desires. So this energy is subtle, but I feel like it's going to be encouraging lots of positive change over the next 6 months. So think more reflection rather than bold new action, because it's going to take time for this to unfold. Now, Gemini in astrology is the third sign. It is mutable air. It's ruled by Mercury. So it has associations, obviously, with communication, things like curiosity, wit, as well as the exchange of ideas. But it's also known as a sign that's very adaptable because it's a mutable sign. So this means that this is a sign that's versatile, it's quick thinking, and also it's about embracing change. Mercury's association with Gemini is all about intellect. So this is a new moon that's great for learning, information gathering, and anything that requires any mental work. And I really like this new moon for starting new communication projects, maybe things that involve education, as well as social connections, because this is a sign that can do very well when it comes to networking, friendships, as well as community, because it's associated with the element of air. Now, there is some duality to Gemini. We think of like the twins, right? So there's 2 of them. So it can also represent where we are balancing multiple perspectives or roles in some way. And because Gemini is connected to Mercury, we also see themes connected to the mind, short trips, siblings, contracts, as well as technology. And some of us might feel a little restless during the time of this particular new moon, but I feel like if we can really ground out our energy, it can be really great for initiating new projects. Now, for those of you guys who are going to be feeling it the most, basically individuals who have any personal placements, so if you have a sun, moon, or rising, or personal planet between 5 and 7 degrees of Gemini, you're going to be feeling this the most. That's because you're going to see the new moon exactly conjunct some of these placements in your chart. And depending on the aspects that it's making in your chart, it could mean different things. So this is where it pays to kind of know your natal chart. But I think it'll impact you directly through intellectual, social, or communication type of events. Now, if you happen to be a mutable sign, so Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, if you guys have any placements between 5 and 7 degrees, you'll be experiencing a square during the time of this new moon. It can have, the effects of needing to grow. I think that's part of it, getting out of your comfort zone. Squares, especially in the mutable signs, are all about prompting adjustments. And in this case, it's about how we're thinking or communicating when it comes to other people. And if you happen to have air placements between 5 and 7 degrees, particularly my Libra and Aquarius, sun, moon, and risings, you guys will be experiencing a trine. And this is a very harmonious aspect. Obviously, the trine includes Pluto, so we're going to see some very strong transformative energies that are coming through that's really beneficial for you guys. And it'll be amplifying intellectual or social transformations, maybe education, maybe travel for you too as well. Now, a new moon in Gemini, in a nutshell, is going to provide an opportunity for us to get mental clarity. which I feel like can be really refreshing and beneficial during a new moon, especially with some of the aspects that we're going to see. So I'm going to break down the aspects as we kind of get through this, and I'll also take you guys through the 12 signs, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But I would recommend setting intentions around communication. So if you need to sign a contract, if you're wanting to start a new program, if you're wanting to learn a new subject, anything like that, writing projects, blogs, if you're wanting to put together a YouTube channel, if you're going to start a Substack, if you're going to work on a website, these are the kinds of things that you want to do under this new moon. But this is also great for social expansion. Gemini is a social sign, so building new connections or strengthening existing ones can also be beneficial under this lunation. This is a sign that really promotes curiosity as well as exploration. So I like the idea with this new moon of embracing new ideas, skills, or potentially some road trips or some local adventures can really, I think, like blossom over the next 6 months if it's being kind of initiated during this time. Obviously, stay flexible. This is about adapting to change and exploring multiple paths and options. That's what we see with Gemini. And as well as self-expression, because the sun and the moon coming together represents this awareness of our conscious and our unconscious and setting up new kind of cycles as we move forward. So some of you guys might feel like you're finding your voice during this particular new moon and maybe sharing your thoughts a little bit more authentically. Great new moon for brainstorming, networking, or launching any communication-based projects. Trust me when I tell you, the aspects are amazing for that. So if you're somebody who's active on social media, if you have an online business, if you're wanting to teach a class, if you're wanting to plan travel, this is the new moon that you guys are going to want to do that. Now it is at 6 degrees. So if you guys follow degree astrology, you know that each particular degree has a connection and association to a sign. So this gives us a little bit more food for thought rather than just looking at it from the perspective of Gemini. And 6 degrees is associated with Virgo, okay? So what's interesting is there's a lot of really strong aspects involving Mercury, right, which also rules Virgo. We also see squares to the South Node in Virgo, so you're going to see a lot of like mutable themes revolving around shifts in how we think, how we work, productivity, schedules, as well as health. So with this connection to 6 degrees and Virgo, this is going to add a little bit more of like a practical or analytical service type kind of flavor to the Gemini new moon. And this is encouraging grounded communication and also an eye for detail. So I think it really suggests that there is a need to refine some of our ideas, maybe organize our thoughts a little bit better, and focus on actionable steps rather than, a lot of like what ifs. And the Sabian symbol that we'll be reading today is going to be the Sabian symbol for 7 degrees of Gemini, because we're going to round up. It's not exactly 6, it's close. So we will read that. And those of you guys are always asking in the comments, like, where did you get your book? Click the description below. There is a link that says Amazon book list. All the books that I use on the channel and the decks are on here. So if you guys want one, you can follow along. All right, so Gemini 7, an old-fashioned well. Okay, so the theme is regeneration, and the symbol speaks to self-renewal and the organic integrity and the fact that each individual retains his own unique identity, no matter how many times and ways he enters into relationships with others or assimilates their reality into his own. The image of an old-fashioned well symbolizes the source of life, and all it emphasizes regeneration, nourishment, and revitalization. Implicit in this symbol is a suggestion that a man must give himself in order to renew or refresh himself, and that individuals will try to keep status quo or resist change, eventually stagnate or run dry. At its highest, it represents inner strength, resourcefulness, and wisdom to know when to go with the flow. Watch for inadequacy, indifference, or impassiveness. The accent is on revitalization and sustainment. Your greatest advantage lies in taking the time to fill your own well, or take the time to take care of your own needs. Do something for yourself today. Guard against losing touch with what sustains you. Avoid giving too much. Stepping stones are source of life, purity, self-renewal, depth, regeneration, nourishment, revitalization, compensation, and sustainment. All right, so we've got the well. Kind of makes me feel like needing to like refill your own cup, like that's kind of the vibe that I get with this. But this particular symbol, I think, is really about invoking resourcefulness as well, because you're tapping into wells of knowledge and finding nourishment through, community, maybe tradition, And it suggests that the answers that you're seeking are accessible if you draw from your own inner resources, your own inner knowledge, right? And it can be collective wisdom as well. I feel like also, when we think about the well, and there's two different variations of this. There's this one, and then there's another one that says a well with a bucket and a rope under a shade of majestic trees. The shade of the tree can be implying protection and stability. So it can be encouraging trust in the process of like discovering this new moon and like taking time to kind of relax and enjoy the information that you're kind of taking in. So it can be pleasure projects, things that you're researching or learning about just for the heck of it, also kind of tapping into new ways of expressing yourself creatively and like being able to enjoy that time that you're participating in that stuff. So if we move on to how this is going to be kind of impacting everybody, I kind of look at it as, what's happening collectively and then what's going to be happening more for like individuals. Obviously, it'll take about 6 months to see this unfold. So at the end of 2025, when we get into Sag season, we'll see a full moon in Gemini, and you'll see over the next 6 months between now and then, a lot of these things are going to kind of blossom. But I am expecting, especially with some of the aspects to Pluto, it's one of the stronger aspects, that we're going to see advancement in communication technology. Okay, so why is that? Well, Gemini rules communication. So whether this is like apps or cell phones or new ways of connecting, even short distance travel, and then the trines to Pluto is definitely going to be about innovation in tech. So I think it's indicating that there's going to be breakthroughs in digital platforms, and also we're going to see this in the means of like AI or social media. Certainly, Mercury being in its home sign is going to be about sharp intellect and communication, but something to think about, and we'll get into this, but Mercury is combust at the time of the new moon. So it's actually within about 4 degrees of the sun, so it's kind of getting burnt up. So it can also mean that as a result of that particular aspect, we're going to see major announcements about, maybe internet accessibility or global connectivity issues or initiatives, advancements in AI-driven tools for like education or networking, information sharing platforms that might be kind of coming up, and also like rapid adoption of some of these particular programs or new technologies. So watch for like the launch of new social media features or platforms that's going to be emphasizing more of like a community-based encouragement, or even like decentralized communication platforms. I think that's going to be something else that's going to be big. As for like more, social and kind of like political stuff, we're probably going to see some grassroots campaigns or protests focusing on education reform, because that's what Gemini is about. It's about education, particularly like younger people, like kindergarten through like elementary school up until high school is really where we see this. So there might be more of a focus on education reform. We might also see more themes revolving around free speech or digital rights gaining traction. I do think that we're going to see probably an influential public figure or groups use media platforms to advocate for technological progress. And I say that because this is where we're planting a seed for communication, and it's kind of connecting to Pluto. So that could be powerful groups, but also powerful people that are initiating new apps, new platforms, new education things, and like talking about having better education systems. We're also probably going to see policy changes relating to information access, such as open source data initiatives or censorship debates. I do think that that is going to be something that's going to kind of play out over the next 6 months. But as for other ways this can like manifest like globally, so I think about international summits, virtual conferences on technology, education, or social innovation, formation of new alliances of networks among organizations, especially in like tech, media, or academics, because that's what Gemini is associated with, and probably some viral social media movements that'll be uniting people around shared ideas or causes. Now, as for the media in general, I think we are going to see shifts in media and information and how we kind of interpret and receive information. Part of that's because obviously, Mercury is also trine Pluto. So this will really excel in uncovering truths and also transforming major narratives out in the world. And with like the Jupiter square that we're going to see, that's also going to be bringing up just more of like information like overload. So This might actually spark debates about truth versus misinformation. And I think that's going to be a wave that we're going to see here, especially for like the next couple of weeks. What does this mean? Well, probably potential exposés or more investigative, journalism pieces that reveal hidden information impacting the public perception. I think that's going to be a big one. We've seen a lot of that already with Jupiter and Gemini. Maybe new media outlets that are going to be, coming out, or platforms emerging, which will really challenge traditional news structures, right? I think that all of this happening just prior to Uranus going into Gemini, where we're going to see a bunch of independent media kind of networks pop up. We're going to see a lot more independent journalists, man on the street style, especially with some of the sextiles and the aspects to Saturn and Neptune. So it's going to be about how individuals are actually experiencing and perceiving things, and how that's really impacting what they share, what they're writing, what they're kind of thinking, and also writing about. I think a lot of it's going to spark a lot of new people who are going to be writing or blogging or podcasting. Public debates about misinformation, privacy, and ethics of digital communication, I think, is something else that's going to come up. That's also part of Jupiter square the North and the South Node, laws and ethics, Education reforms, I think we're going to see launch of new programs, especially online programs or things that are going to be more tech-driven, especially with that connection to 6 degrees and Virgo, which adds like this very practical and like service-oriented focus. And the sextiles to Saturn and Neptune is really supporting structured educational innovation. So really, I'm looking for like policy changes in schools or universities that's going to be incorporating AI or digital literacy. It's also possible we're going to see public campaigns promoting lifelong learning or skill sharing opportunities. So that could be good for individuals. But on an individual level, how this might be impacting you, a lot of it's going to be dependent on your chart. So you're going to want to see where Gemini is in your chart. That's where the new moon is. Look for the trine to Pluto in Aquarius, where it's kind of gaining some power and some support. And then you'll watch this obviously play out over about 6 months. But I think on a personal level, I like this for personal breakthroughs, intellectual breakthroughs, aha moments. Also, starting a new course, a writing project, or a research endeavor, especially with a trine to Pluto, that really shifts your perspective. Maybe receiving unexpected insights through conversations, dreams, or journaling. That could be another one. Or just overcoming mental blocks such as self-doubt or anything revolving around doubt of your intellectual abilities. And this could lead to newfound confidence. I do think it's positive for transforming communication. That Mercury-Pluto trine is really about empowering persuasive, authentic self-expression. And the new moon is really fostering new beginnings. And this is going to be about how you connect to other people. We've also got Venus conjunct Chiron in Aries. So that might be prompting healing through vulnerable conversations with other people. So I could see some people having like pivotal conversations that really deepen their relationships or resolve conflict. We could also see some launching blogs, podcasts, or social media that just really gains traction very quickly, especially around like large groups and followings, and opportunities for writing or speaking publicly about personal experiences leading to empowerment as well as recognition. So for those of you guys who have been like wanting to publish your book, if you've been wanting to start your website, if you've been wanting to start, writing or blogging, this can be a wonderful time. Now, for social connections and networking, I think that this will actually prompt a lot of new social opportunities, because this is going to be amplified with Jupiter in the same sign. Even though it's not conjunct, it's still going to be a part of quite a few planets that are in a lineup in the sign of Gemini. And also that trine to Pluto is really kind of opening the doors to new connections. So that mixed in with like a Venus-Mars trine, I feel like has a lot of charisma and attraction. So it could mean that some of us are meeting influential people at workshops, events, or online communities. This is also great for joining a group or a network that really aligns with your goals, such as a professional organization or maybe even a hobby club. And if you can't find one to join, you might consider starting one. This is also great for reconnecting with old friends or siblings and sparking some kind of like, passion projects or kind of collaborative projects that you could do with other people. As for career and creative launches, I really like the sextile to Saturn and Neptune. I feel like this is, where individuals dream about what they could be or what they can create, or they're trying to kind of get a stronghold on what their vision is for themselves, and some of their, kind of realizations or philosophies or feelings, and like that they could actually share that through the sextile with the new moon. So I like this because I feel like this is also supporting disciplined creativity, while Jupiter's, sextile that you're going to see the other way around to some of the other planets like Mars as well as Venus is going to bring bold, opportunities for action. And we also see some trines that are going to be happening to the South Node in Virgo during this particular new moon. And that's going to be bringing up, I think, innovative approaches to work and how we kind of create. I would say for some of you guys, this is like a wonderful time for starting a side hustle, okay? Possibly a project related to communication, teaching, or media. Some might be receiving job offers or promotions tied to your intellectual or your social skills. And this is wonderful for launching creative endeavors like a book, an art project, performance-based things, or anything that's going to resonate with other people that could listen, learn, or watch what it is that you're doing. But I think overall, I'm really loving the trine to Pluto. I feel like that's one of the best aspects with Mercury, the ruler, trine Pluto, with the new moon, trine Pluto. I feel like this is really about deep psychological shifts. And while this is happening, that Venus Chiron conjunction that's kind of setting up is saying that this supports healing through self-worth and relationships. So when we think about the Sabian symbol, right, the well with a bucket, it's suggesting like accessing our inner resources. So this might mean that we have to be at the time of the new moon thinking about releasing limiting beliefs about our voice. Maybe intellect through therapy, journaling, or, using affirmations regularly. This is also about healing the relationship wound by embracing vulnerability and setting boundaries with the sextile to Saturn and Neptune. Some of us might be experiencing a spiritual or emotional breakthrough that kind of redefines your goals or your identity. Now, when we break it down a little bit further, I think what makes this new moon so powerful is the aspects. And you guys have heard me say with every new and full moon, not every new and full moon is created equal. If there's good aspects in a new moon, then it's going to be a good time to be initiating new things. If there's challenging aspects in a new moon, it's showing us, hey, it's going to be a bit of like a bumpy ride for the next 6 months. Honestly, there's not much in this new moon that I can complain about, hardly anything. I think everything is either a conjunction, a sextile, or a trine, which makes this super, super productive. We start first with the ruler. So the ruler of Gemini, obviously, is Mercury. And we've got Mercury in its domicile, which means it's in its home sign. What's positive is that Mercury in Gemini under a new moon is very strong. It's going to enhance mental clarity as well as communication. However, it is combust. So like I said, it's within about 4 degrees of the sun. So this basically means that it's so close to the sun that we feel like mentally fried or overwhelmed or overloaded, or it's kind of hard to kind of grasp all of the information that's kind of coming in so suddenly. So this means that it can kind of obscure the expression. So it could lead to like overthinking or a difficulty in articulating our thoughts. I would say this is a good moon for focusing on introspection rather than, external communication. Maybe it means that ideas at the time of the new moon are very potent, but they need some refinement before sharing with other people. So we're going through the email before we send it. We're kind of reassessing our notes for problem solving and really making sure that we give this enough time to actually be able to grow. Shortly after the new moon, you will see a cazimi. So a couple days later is definitely a good idea to start putting some of those new moon intentions kind of, to work. Anyway, watch for, I think some of the overwhelm. I think that journaling or private brainstorming can be really positive. In light of Mercury being combust, I feel like the trine to Pluto is such a powerful aspect. Now, Pluto is retrograde, so it's more internal now. Some of the changes that we're going through kind of collectively with our goals and our groups and networks, and also anything in regards to technology or the future. So trines are harmonious. Having that trine between Mercury and Pluto is bringing the transformative energy of Pluto, and it's encouraging deep insights with Mercury. And this will really be about empowerment through communication. It's a time to really release old, outdated patterns. This could be thought patterns, ways that we communicate with ourselves, ways of thinking, and we want to embrace innovative ideas. So this could mean that there's profound shifts in perspective. That's very likely, especially in group dynamics or anything relating to technology. So when I take a step back and I look at this, I'm like, whoa, Mercury trine Pluto, new moon trine Pluto. It's gonna be mind blowing. Some of the things we're gonna learn over the next 6 months about Pluto related things. energy, renewable energy, politics, anything in regards to, I think, the future, anything in regards to technology and technological advancement, and how that's actually going to be impacting, the Gemini kind of area. So learning, transportation, vehicles, air travel, communication, writing, data, all of that stuff is just going to be like so transformative over the immediate next 6 months. It's crazy. And obviously, I think that with the moon trine Pluto also, this is saying that we have an opportunity, if we can work together, if we can communicate and find the necessary networks and ways to be able to communicate and connect, like we can have, more of a voice. We can have more of a say in the change, in the direction of where things are kind of going in the future as well. Wonderful for research, wonderful for negotiations or advocating for change in collective settings. Very powerful, especially when it comes to persuasive communication, and also uncovering hidden truths through the people that we're connected with. I've had a theory that what's going to be most valuable, what's going to be the true currency in the future, is having community that we can trust, having networks, having friends, having safety and security, especially in some of like our online kind of relationships, especially to certain platforms and things like that. So I think a lot of it's going to be focused on transparency and maybe, subscribing or being a part of certain online communities that are going to be transparent. I think that's going to be a major key. Now, we do see the new moon sextile both Saturn and Neptune by a couple of degrees. So these are all pretty tight aspects that we're seeing, which means you're gonna feel some of the effects of this really for the better part of the next couple weeks. And the sextile is a friendly energy. It basically means that if we're doing the Saturn and Neptune and Aries things, then we can really benefit and have that new beginning in the Gemini area of our chart. So, Saturn and Neptune, they will be conjunct at the end of May. You're going to see them conjunct, not exact. That won't be until February of 26, but they're moving side by side and they're direct. So you're going to feel the effects of that. And Saturn brings discipline to creative or spiritual pursuits, Neptune and Aries. Neptune does add inspiration. It does add compassion. So when you blend this, supported structure, structured dreaming, and practical ideas, that sextile to the new moon in Gemini means, okay, if we can get clear about our dreams, if we can take action, start initiating something, we can start something, we can start websites, we can start businesses, we can teach, we can learn, we can write, we can travel. So this is all about setting realistic goals, I think, for creative or even for humanitarian projects. It's really great for balancing vision with effort and getting clear about what your purpose is, and then being able to kind of share your voice with the world. Now, obviously, Saturn conjunct Neptune and Aries, that's a whole, I already kind of did a video on that. I'm going to be doing more on that as we kind of get through May. But this is a challenging conjunction. We see this roughly every 36 years. Obviously, it's going to be brewing a little bit in 2025, and then it will start to kind of separate as it goes back into Pisces. But this wants you to build something tangible. It wants you to have a tangible outcome. So that's why the new moon can be great for problem solving, for sitting down and brainstorming. It can be great for just getting, just learning some new skills so you feel like you can be independent as well. And this really, I think, on the other side with the sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, so we've got a sextile here, we've got a sextile here. This is also saying that you have the opportunity now to use that transformative power, especially in pioneering or creative efforts, entrepreneurial things, physical things that you have to kind of build and you have to create as well. So putting that all together, there's long-term visions that can take shape through persistent effort and innovative thinking. So nice aspects there. When we look at Venus and what's kind of going on with Venus, Venus is nuzzling up next to Chiron, and she is in a trine to Mars, which is a nice reprieve, I think, from some of the other things that we've been seeing with, the Mars squares in recent months. And now Venus is kind of out of her shadow period. So I love to see Mars and Venus in a trine to one another. We don't have the battle of the sexes. We have boosting up and kind of working together, and a lot of passion, a lot of confidence, and attraction. So it's a dynamic that's really great for romance, but also creativity and bold self-expression. I feel like this is also going to be about pursuing our desires with enthusiasm, whether that's love, art, or personal projects, Fire trines, they just feel super passionate about getting going with something. So we're going to be feeling more vocal, more communicative. We're going to be making moves and kind of like, using our words in action as a result of some of the trines between Venus and Mars. Now, we do see Jupiter also sextiles these. I think it's a bit of a stronger sextile between Venus and Jupiter within about 6 degrees, but it is also sextiling Mars. So, Venus sextile Jupiter, we've got aspects that's really lending energy to kind of expand maybe what we're learning or what we're communicating about. It could also mean that, we see there's more optimism, there's more charm, there's more creative opportunities. And Jupiter in Gemini is about learning and networking as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of like social and creative, endeavors flourish, especially if it's through collaboration or some bold new initiative. So I do think that we're going to see a lot of people that are going to have the opportunity to kind of mix and mingle and either meet people locally or be starting like new groups or there's new applications or, online things that are going to be happening that's going to help people also find love. So that's always good. And then we've got Venus conjunct Chiron. So this is all about healing relationships. Obviously, with the sextile to Jupiter, it can mean that we're doing that through words. But Aries is the sign of the self. So we're healing self-worth issues, we're healing identity issues, and it can definitely bring up vulnerability, but also opportunities for growth through self-acceptance. So this is all about addressing wounds around confidence in love, maybe embracing your authenticity. Maybe this is about positive affirmations, especially in regards to the I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am capable, I am lovable, I am healthy, I am abundant, whatever it is that you're working with. Words in action, I think, are going to be very, very beneficial to kind of ritualize during this particular new moon. Now, we do see Uranus trine the South Node, which it's kind of been hanging out here for a little while. This is nothing new. You'll see this throughout May. Really, this is, I think, just Uranus and Taurus bringing innovation to practical matters and harmonizing, I think, with like Virgo's tendency to want precision and perfection while simultaneously sextiling the North Node in Pisces. So this can be more about your intuition. So this aspect where Uranus is making aspects to the nodes means that it's supporting breakthroughs. And these breakthroughs are in routine. It can be your job, your health, your habits, but it can also be in regards to spiritual growth. So some of us might be finding that we're embracing unconventional approaches to habits or creativity for personal evolution. And then finally, the big one that I just can't stop looking at is Jupiter in Gemini square the North and South Node, okay? So even though Jupiter is 20 degrees away from the new moon, and even more from Mercury, this is still a stellium. You have all of these planets, Mercury, Sun, Moon, Jupiter, in the same sign. Equally, they're all sextiling all these placements in Aries. So there is going to be some new initiatory kind of energy that's kind of pushing us forward to, move, travel, relocate, learn, communicate, go into negotiations, meetings, whatever. And it's really saying in order to do that, not only do we have to be bold and have a vision, for the future, but we have to know how to communicate. So Jupiter square the North and the South Node. This is something that you're going to be feeling pretty much mid-May all the way until the end of the month. This aspect is a little challenging because when planets square the North and the South Node, from an evolutionary standpoint, we must integrate, the soul must integrate the themes of that particular planet and sign. So there's tension, right? There's tension. It's kind of felt like a mental tornado or something for me with Mercury. I think, kind of debilitated here in its fall. And I think it's about overthinking versus trusting our intuition, North Node in Pisces, or maybe this strong pull towards criticism or perfectionism. And the North Node's really calling us to surrender. So this is challenging because we're being asked to balance logic with faith, and not to overdo it. We have to avoid excessive analysis. So there's just a lot of, I think, learning to ask questions, right? Gemini, being curious, maybe studying or getting into new subjects, maybe learning how to kind of converse with people that have, a difference of opinions. And it's really wanting us to be able to share our beliefs, our philosophies, and whether that's, spiritual, religious, cultural, whatever, without feeling like we're getting like lost in the weeds or that we're being too overly critical of ourselves or other people. The video you guys are going to get is on Thursday, is all about that. So I'm going to be doing that for you guys. But that's a big one, really enhancing the need to kind of communicate. And what's funny is Jupiter makes things bigger. Sometimes it can overdo things. So especially Jupiter and Gemini, we can see like a lot of people that are kind of embellishing stories, or, things sound too good to be true, or stories or information or whatever is inflated. So when I think about the Mercury combust, there can be definitely a need to kind of sit with some of our intentions and not feel like we have to rush to get them all done, in a 2 to 4 week period. Maybe we need to take time to really think it through, to kind of integrate. Maybe we need to keep some of those projects or ideas private. Maybe we need to journal about it, come up with a plan instead of just kind of like leaping into things because we may feel like we're getting too overwhelmed trying to do too much stuff at one time. All the more reason to lean into the sun and moon and Mercury trine Pluto. Like, we don't have to do it alone. We can find support through community. We can do collaborative projects with other people. We can call a friend, right? Like, there's other people that can help us. And so I think a lot of us are going to realize we can get the things that we want to get done. And it's possible that, there are other people who equally are kind of within the same like wavelength that we are on, that we will connect to as a result of this new moon, that can help us go and do and build all of these new things. So I think the best way to work with new moon in Gemini energy, because this is a moon that's in an air sign, is you can work with the element of air. Incense, chimes, bells, even like music. This can be a great time to be doing some journaling. So like literally writing your intentions relating to the new moon, topic, depending on where it is in your chart. Better communication, learning something new, maybe some of your social goals, as well as networking. So I would really encourage you guys to be reaching out and trying to make new contacts or even reconnecting with old friends. A wonderful time to do it during the new moon period. And learning. So if you've been wanting to start a course, if you've been wanting to read a book, if you want to explore a new skill, this is a good time to do it. Just make sure that you're practicing some kind of mindfulness, like meditation or something that's going to kind of quiet some of the mental chatter that kind of comes up through this particular new moon. And particularly if you're in like the technological space. So if you're involved in creating information based platforms, if you create apps, if you're building websites, if you're working on a blog that you want to launch, or a podcast, or a new social media project, this is the time, because it's basically saying you have a 6-month window to work with to really focus on growing your audience. Now, for rituals in general, you can always light a candle during a new moon. I think that that's just kind of like a staple go-to. I would probably use yellow because of its connection and its association with Gemini. For those of you guys who want to work with Mercury, you can use orange. And I would just write your intentions on paper. If you guys want to burn it, do it safely so that way you can kind of release those intentions. I also love this for a vision board, because I feel like this could be a good time to kind of get all of your ideas out and then design or create something. So whether you physically create one where you do it old school with all of your, scissors and your glue sticks and, your magazines, or if you want to do something digitally that you can put on your desktop or put it on your lock screen, something that you're going to see all the time. Gemini is what we hold in our hand. That can be a good way to do this. And I would be reciting affirmations. I think affirmations are going to be really powerful. So something like, I express myself clearly and confidently. I embrace ideas with ease. Communication comes easily to me. I whatever it is that you're wanting to initiate, you want to do the I am, especially with some of the sextiles that you're going to see to Saturn and Neptune. Breath work can be really helpful, especially when we get kind of like, overwhelmed sometimes with all this Gemini energy, where it's just like I said, information, overload, or it's going to just feel like a mental tornado. There's constantly going to be new information or new upgrades and things that are going to be coming in as a result of this new moon. So practice breath work. You can go check out YouTube. There's lots of great information. Also, binaural beats can be really wonderful if you're wanting to do something where you're listening to some frequency stuff as you're trying to do some guided meditation or breath work as well. And if you guys want to use with crystals, I recommend using blue lace agate. I think that can really enhance communication. And any visualization or meditation techniques with a sextile to Saturn and Neptune, I think is beneficial, because the truth is that until we see clearly with that Saturn and Neptune, we know exactly what direction we're going in, or what we're wanting to say, or what we're wanting to do, or what the plan is. It's only then that we can actually put the pen to paper under the new moon in Gemini. So that's what I have for you guys for the new moon. I'd like to take you through the 12 rising signs, and I've got a little bit of insight as to maybe the themes that you'll be experiencing from the new moon, recommendations that I have for you guys, as well as some predictions, and of course, some tarot. So as you guys know, I'm a Western astrologer. That's the kind of astrology I like to practice. I do not practice Vedic. This is going to be from the perspective of the whole rising signs. So if you guys are Placidus, you may have to listen to more than one, and listen to your rising sign first, because that's going to tell you exactly which house in your particular chart the new moon is going to be taking place. Special emphasis, obviously, if you have anything between 5 and 7 degrees of Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, personal planet, okay? That's where you're going to be kind of feeling this the most. And maybe look to Pluto, where you're getting some help, and maybe also look to Saturn and Neptune, where you're kind of strengthening something, or you're gaining more clarity, or there's more commitment going on, because these are some beautiful aspects that are going to be supporting this new moon in Gemini. All right, so this is going to be for my Aries and Aries risings. I'm sure a lot of what I said resonates with you guys. You will be having the new moon that's going to be taking place in Gemini in your natal third house. So what I like about this is that you've got Mercury in its home sign, and it's also in its home house, okay? Third house is about communication. This is about learning, siblings, contracts, websites, short distance trips, vehicles, anything like that. So this is going to bring up themes connecting to mental stimulation, local neighborhood connections, self-expression. And I would say with trines that you have to Pluto, where you're getting by with some help from some of your friends, and also sextiles now to Saturn and Neptune, which is going to be in your sign, this is a very powerful combination for you. This basically means that it's a really good time to start a writing project. It's a really good time to plan a short distance trip, go on a road trip, engage in conversations with neighbors, call your siblings, call your family, start journaling, anything to get your ideas on paper. And if you can start doing this, you're going to find that these new ideas, or the information, is going to be sparked because you're feeling inspired. You're going to feel a wave of inspiration that's going to kind of come up for you. I think this is going to lead to creative or intellectual breakthroughs. I would just watch for overthinking, overdoing it, right? And what's interesting is, like I said, a couple days later, you're going to see a Mercury cazimi, where Mercury and the sun are going to conjunct. And I feel like maybe there's a little bit of brainstorming and some stuff happening. As you're getting up to the Mercury cazimi a couple of days later, you're going to realize, aha, I have a breakthrough idea for a new book, or I've planned this trip, or, maybe I had an insightful conversation and it helped me kind of put the pieces together for a project. Something like that is going to be happening. And remember, pretty soon Uranus is going to be coming into Gemini, so it's going to be in your third house. So there may be much more of a involvement in a local neighborhood group, right? Because Uranus is connected to your 11th. You may be, writing for a community, or you may be working on a new app. You may be traveling more with friends. So this is the beginning process of, I think, kind of getting ready and getting prepared for some of these exciting third house things. All right, so let's take a look and let's see what the prediction is from the tarot for my Aries and my Aries risings. Okay, so the card that I get for you guys is the Page of Cups. This can be talking about connections to water signs, Cancers, Scorpios, as well as Pisces, but I really feel like this is about communicating more from like an emotional state, right? I mean, Saturn coming into your sign can feel like a little rigid, but Neptune being there at the same time might mean that you're opening up more to your intuition, your emotions, you're a little bit more sensitive or empathic. Maybe you're learning to communicate in a different way. Maybe this means that you're kind of leading with the heart. Could it mean that there is romantic opportunities or connections to people that can come from short distance trips, people sliding into your DMs, sending you emails, or maybe just meeting somebody on the street locally? Of course, this can also be an indication that there's a potential for a new romantic person coming in, but more so getting in touch with your emotions, being receptive, being open. So that way, some of these connections in your third house can take place and possibly spark new emotional, I think, ways of expressing yourself. I think that's really what this is going to be about. So good luck to my Aries and Aries risings. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? You're going to be doing this new moon in Gemini in your natal second house. And the second house obviously is a house that you're familiar with. This is all about finances, values, spending power, self-worth, personal possessions. So this is the one time a year that you have to do your money manifestation, right? To kind of set intentions in regards to your finances and your resources. You are pulling energy and support from trines to Pluto in your 10th house, where there's some powerful transformative things going on with your career, who you're working with, what you're doing, what changes are kind of happening in the work front, and also some sextiles that you're seeing to Saturn and Neptune in your 12th, where there's also this awareness that in order for you to bring in more, sometimes it means that you have to actually step back from certain responsibilities, or you can't really hold on to the old ways of working. Maybe you're embracing working with a team in some way, shape, or form. So new moon in the second house, you're going to see that this is really about financial planning. This is also about valuing your ideas, right, Gemini, as well as being resourceful. Now, Mercury is in the mix, so I do feel like a couple of days after this new moon, when you see the Cazimi, you're going to see an opportunity for you to have like a breakthrough with your finances. It might be there's a second financial income stream that pops up over the next couple of months. It might mean that there is a sudden chance to invest in property, some money that comes from real estate, some money that comes from family that really can bring you, some really good news financially. But I recommend setting intentions for earning through communication. So think like freelance teaching, writing, blogging, right? Something maybe connecting to travel even, or something creative, because Mercury's in the mix. So are you going to be doing some creative writing? Are you going to be, doing something that's going to be feeling like it's fun or it's a hobby, but could that actually be a way to make money? So reflect on how to use your skills to boost income. I predict for you guys that you may find opportunities to monetize your intellect, or your network may become bigger with some of the trines that you're going to see to Pluto. Be open to also innovative financial strategies. I think a lot of this is supported with Uranus getting ready to leave your sign and coming into the second house. So a lot of you guys are going to go, well, I can do this and that, or, I can start kind of like upgrading the way that I'm used to doing my finances or doing my work. And I can find that it can actually like bring me more in the long run. Okay. So the card that you get is the Eight of Cups, which is interesting because this is a card that's like being like, I'm walking away, and I think that's Saturn and Neptune. I think that's the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in your 12th. Like Saturn is the traditional ruler of your 10th house of career. So for Saturn and Neptune to be in the 12th house, you might feel like it's almost like sunsetting on some ways of doing business or doing work, or that you actually have to take a step back to really prioritize something that you're working on that is going to be beneficial in the long term. So there is an aspect of walking away from something, or walking away from an old way of looking at your resources or your values. It might mean that in order to receive the abundance or the wealth that's coming in, you have to be willing to change or transform a way of working or doing things. So I can see it through the trine, and I can see it through the sextile with Saturn and Neptune. What old things are you walking away from? What are you willing to let go of? The new moons in the second house can feel like, well, I have to part with something, and it can be an investment, it can be a person, it can be a job. But in the long term, it's because you know that there's something better coming, right? Or your worth, that you're going to find a better paying job, or that you can actually get more for what you're doing. So something to think about, that in order to gain, you have to kind of let something go. Good luck, Taurus. I've got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's up, Gemini? This will be your new moon that you're going to have. You get one once a year. So new moon, new you. And if you've got Gemini, sun, moon, rising, 5, 6, 7 degrees, it's going to be very potent. And I'm excited because not only do you have a new moon in your sign, but you also have Mercury in your sign. So that's going to be really working in your favor. So the new moon will be taking place in your guys' first house of self. This is also about your identity, your appearance, as well as your body. Now you're leaning on support coming from Pluto in your 9th house, a fellow sister air sign, where there is radical change and transformation of your belief system, your philosophy. Changes with travel, going places or meeting people that can change you. It can also mean there is a really powerful new philosophy or mentor that's kind of coming into your life now. And I think a lot of this is also about changing the way that you look at health habits and routine, as Pluto's kind of connected to your sixth house. So the other thing that's beneficial is that you're going to see sextiles to Saturn and Neptune in your friendship house, networking house, also connecting to your goals. So really, I think you're locked in and you're really focused on, okay, what are my goals? What am I doing? Why am I here? Like, what is going to be like the new fresh start for me? What allies and friendships have my back? And also, what am I learning about starting over or doing something new? So the themes here are going to be really strong for personal reinvention, self-expression, and confidence. Pretty soon you're going to have Uranus coming into your sign. You're going to see that this summer in July. So I am predicting a lot more spontaneous travel. I do think some of you guys are going to suddenly decide that you want to go back to school, or there is going to be an opportunity to teach, or maybe you're going to be writing a book or any of these ninth house things. And it's going to be kind of like, inspiration strikes and I'm just going to kind of follow that and kind of, go there and do that. So I feel like this is about getting comfortable with setting those new intentions for the self, as well as really thinking about what communities, which friendships, who is in your corner that can kind of help you throughout this particular next 6-month period. Great time to update your personal brand, maybe try a new look, maybe share your story publicly with other people. Really focusing on authentic kind of self-presentation, I think, can be really wonderful. And I predict for you guys that this is a very powerful time to redefine yourself. Expect increased visibility and social opportunities. That's definitely going to be amplified by Jupiter. That is in your guys' sign. The card that I got for you is the Queen of Coins, okay? So even though this is not necessarily you by element, it can be you embodying this, all right? So if you don't get support or some kind of connection, maybe that's coming from a Virgo, a Capricorn, or a Taurus, this can be about you going, I'm investing in me. Quality, right, is very much a theme when you see the Kings and the Queens of Pentacles. And nurturing maybe some of your talents, investing in yourself. And that could mean that you're going, you know what, I'm actually going to be investing in my health, or I'm going to be spending a little bit more money on quality hair products, clothing, other things, especially if you're wanting to kind of really focus on developing a professional kind of like persona, right? The North Node's in your 10th house now, so business is really important. You've got Saturn and Neptune in your 11th, so you're kind of going and mixing and mingling with other professionals and trying to kind of connect to people who are also going to be supporting you professionally. So I think a lot of it's going to be about that. I think it's also going to be about being really savvy when it comes to finances and resources. Jupiter is kind of hovering around your second house. So I do think a lot of Gemini risings in particular are going to see that there's going to be wealth opportunities, especially over the summer. And right now it's about going, yes, I am capable. I am worthy of that. I'm going to bring all of that in. Good luck. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You guys are going to be doing this new moon in the sign of Gemini in your natal 12th house. And this is going to be in the house of spirituality, things that are subconscious, stuff that's hidden. It's also about retreats. It's about healing. So whenever you have planets coming through the 12th house, you have this new moon in your 12th house. This is kind of like that reset point right before you get into your birthday season. So things are getting kind of reevaluated from where you've been over the last year, what you're taking with you, what you're letting go. 12th house is definitely about inner reflection, and you're ruled by the moon. So having a new moon in the 12th house is really saying it's time to kind of pull back, focus on your intuition. And it can also be about mental healing, because the 12th house is healing. Gemini can be our mental state where we're feeling a little frazzled or overwhelmed. You are going to notice that there will be trines to Pluto in the 8th house. So deep psychological shifts, opportunities to heal, release kind of fear or trauma or anything, that's about feeling blocked financially or in terms of intimacy. You can actually get insight and you can kind of release now. It can be really wonderful, I think, to focus on meditation with the new moon in your 12th house. Dreams might be very prominent here, especially a couple days later when you see the Cazimi, as well as exploring therapy to process subconscious thoughts. So past life regression, right? Dream interpretation, meditation, all of these things can be really wonderful for the new moon. And I would just say avoid overanalyzing your emotions. That might be something that comes up for you. But, you've got sextiles happening to Saturn and Neptune in your 10th. So this could also just be, you're just working a lot, or there's like a new work environment and you're like, I'm still adapting. And, maybe it's about working more in private. But I definitely feel like deep insights during this particular new moon are likely to surface for you, especially if you have time to, kind of be alone and have quiet contemplation. Spiritual practices can feel very transformative and also supported by Pluto's trine, obviously through changes in joint finances, resources, as well as like tax matters, inheritances, changes with friends. All of that can have you feeling, okay, I'm consciously taking time to kind of rest, recuperate, and reflect, or I'm kind of feeling like I'm on the outside looking in. So if you're feeling a little bit more exhausted or under the weather, or maybe you just need a little bit more privacy, I think that this is not a bad thing. It's all going to be about how you look at it. And you are also preparing to see Jupiter kind of come into your sign here in a couple of months. So this is kind of like the final shedding. I call this like the kind of caterpillar phase, 12th house, all these transits, before planets are moving into your first house, which you're going to see in June and July. And it's going to feel like a rebirth period, a new identity. Maybe you're feeling healthier. Maybe you're feeling more optimistic. Maybe you're feeling more positive. And even in spite of the squares to Saturn, I feel like you're going to go, you know what, by listening to my emotions, by resting when I need to rest, by listening to what my gut or my dreams are telling me, it's helping me navigate things a little bit better and kind of feel like you've got some emotional equilibrium. Okay. So let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say for you. Cancer, you get the 9 of Coins. Great card. I think part of this is the fact that you're going to see Mars and Venus trine. Obviously, the 9 of Coins is like a well-kept woman, right? Indulging and spoiling herself and enjoying the time that she has and taking care of herself and living a life of like luxury and comfort. And I think that when this card comes up, it's basically saying getting to the point where you can do what you want to do. And I look at this new moon and I'm like, you want to rest, you want to go on a vacation, you want to take a week off, you want to feel like you can actually just enjoy doing it, whatever it is that you want to do on your free time. So with that being said, that trine to Pluto, I think, can give you access to resources. Venus in your career house, trine Mars in your money house can also mean that you're really finally loving and enjoying whatever's going on at work, what new things you're doing, and you're feeling incentivized to continue down that path because it may lead you to some type of abundance and the freedom to spend some of that on your kind of downtime as you have this new moon in the 12th. Good luck, Cancer. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You guys are going to be experiencing a new moon that's going to be in Gemini in your natal 11th house. And the 11th house is all about friends, allies, parties, socializing, as well as connecting with groups and also like your goals, your wishes, your hopes for the future. So when you have a new moon here, especially when it's trine Pluto in the 7th house, it does seem to kind of indicate that there's powerful new opportunities to develop partnerships or allies, romantic relationships through social connections, friends that could become romantic partners, people who introduce you to people. If you're in an existing relationship, spending time and kind of connecting with your friends. But also like this is where you set intentions for like wishes, okay? So like I have to keep telling you guys that. You are the sun. So sun in the 11th house means likely you're going to be socializing with friends, maybe traveling, going to social events, things like that, and focusing on some of these long-term goals. And then you also have the sun sextile Saturn as well as Neptune in your 9th, and Saturn rules relationships. So there's a lot of good relationship things for Leo and Leo risings here, whether this is traveling with a partner, meeting somebody abroad, if this is traveling with friends, if this is networking with people who are further away. I would say all of the above. Join a group. If you can't, find one, start one under the new moon. Attend social events. There might be quite a bit of them, and collaborate with other people because the 11th house wants you to do that. Set intentions also for your dream team. So if you are wanting to find your tribe, if you're wanting to bring together a group of people to work on a project at work, if you want to get the friends group together, if you haven't seen each other in a while, this can be a good time to kind of set some of those intentions. And I'm predicting for you guys, new friendships or alliances are likely to form, potentially leading to exciting collective endeavors. And I think the Mars-Venus trine is very sexy for you guys because Mars is in your sign and Venus is in the 9th. So It can definitely boost charisma, and it can also bring in the opportunity for you to be traveling or meeting somebody at a distance. Okay. Anything else? I don't know. I love the sun moon. I love the Pluto sun moon trine stuff going on. I think if you have like a business or if you have like a marketplace, you sell services, you might be sharing with, your audience, hey, this is what I have to offer, or hey, this is who I'm partnering with now. So there could be powerful unions and partnerships that can be happening here as well. All right, the card that I get for you is, of course, the Eight of Wands, especially with Mars in your sign. You guys are like ready to go. You must be feeling so much better now that like Mars is out of the shadow period and it's no longer kind of like bouncing off of some of the squares. That trine to Venus, I think, is very much Eight of Mars. It's passionate. It wants to get going. It's excited. There's new opportunities. You have a lot to look forward to. You're probably gonna have a very busy social schedule, especially over like the next couple of weeks. Places to go and people to see. So it's just going to be this go, go, go energy. And you're feeling incentivized because of maybe the people that you're around and people who are encouraging you or people who are kind of celebrating some of your, accomplishments, I think could also be a really big thing that's taking place. So enjoy this. It's just going to be a very, very busy schedule for you. All right. So we've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You guys are going to be doing the new moon in Gemini in your natal 10th house. And pay attention if you're like 5, 6, 7 degrees Virgo, sun, moon, or rising, this is going to square you. But Mercury is it's your ruler as well. So, having Mercury in such, I think, significant aspects says a lot about what's kind of going in your life right now. So a new moon taking place in your 10th house is going to put an emphasis on your career, your public image, your ambition, who you are out in the world. So even if you're retired, it's just like, okay, who am I? And like, what is my purpose? Obviously, Gemini is about this and that. So if you're a Virgo rising, that's like, well, I've got a day job, but I also do this on the side, or I'm also trying to kind of segue into that. Take note of this, especially since Uranus is going to be going into your 7th house pretty soon. And I think a lot of you guys are going to be kind of chasing new business ventures, or you're going to be considering, starting a side hustle, or maybe going into a different type of business. Something like that's going to happen for a lot of you guys. And this is a good time, I think, to set the initiative to be like, okay, I'm open to that if that's the direction of where the universe wants me to go. Anyway, new moon is going to trine Pluto in your 6th house. So it's saying that for these new professional opportunities to come in, for these new statuses, for these new, potential offers to come in, there needs to be a change or a transformation in your 6th house. So your schedule might need to change. Your staff might change. Your office might change. And it might be because, people are leaving, or offices are downsizing, or there's new technology being brought in. And obviously, to kind of get everything on track, to really see things kind of grow, like there needs to be a necessary health habit, daily routine, kind of office routine that needs to kind of come about. So the themes with the new moon in your 10th house is going to very much be about professional communication, your reputation, and as well as leadership. I recommend launching a work-related project at some point around the next month. It can actually do very well. Update your resume, update your LinkedIn, post your new professional headshots. You can use AI now to create them. Might as well do that, like use technology or other things that can kind of benefit you getting things done. Pitch ideas to superiors and network strategically. You've also got sextiles that are happening to Saturn and Neptune in the 8th house, which is saying like a lot of things is changing when it comes to joint assets and money. So that could be the money that you're bringing in through a business, changes with bonuses, changes with insurance. There could be changes with your partner's money that could be going on if you're partnered as well. So I do think that I predict for you guys career opportunities that are going to come in. It's going to be tied to communication, tech, maybe even teaching that will emerge. And, Jupiter being in your 10th house as well is pretty significant because it is squaring the north and the south node, and the north node is in your sign. Releasing and letting go of an old identity, north node in the 7th, embracing new partnerships, listening to your gut when it comes to partnerships. So that Jupiter square, it's going to enhance your visibility. You're going to be seen more. So you're going to get more hits if you're posting your resume. You're going to be seen more at work if you're really putting yourself out there and you're taking chances. Just avoid the trap of being a perfectionist with the south node in your sign. Get out there, mix, mingle, communicate, talk to people. Not everything has to be perfect, and like enjoy, I think, the next month of just kind of being in the sun with some of these aspects. The card that I get for you is the Four of Coins, which is funny. It's like, do I stay or do I go? Like, am I holding on to this too much? And I would say, because you're about to undergo Uranus transit, having Uranus go into your fourth house here in just a few short months, holding on to an old identity or an old job or the way that something has to be because that's how it's always been may not suit you. Don't hold on too tightly is my advice. Stay open, remain open, be curious. What other potential job avenues can you go down? Is it possible that, maybe there's something better or different opportunity or different kind of like title that can actually be better for you in the long run? Would you do well and be open to doing some kind of management? Would you do well going in a new direction when it comes to your professional life? I think so. I think a lot of you guys will. So don't hold on too tightly to the old way of doing things. I also feel like for some of you guys, you're holding out until you get the best offer, till you get the best setup, until you know that it's going to be everything that you want. So there is something to be said about the Four of Coins, where if you're holding out for the right reasons, especially financially, right, it makes sense. Maybe you're dealing with this over the next 4 months. To me, it makes sense. I'd be watching a couple days after the new moon when you have the Cazimi, which I think is going to be around 8 or 9 degrees. That may be a realization that's like, oh, somebody at work is quitting. Okay, do I want to move into that position? Or another opportunity popped up. Do I want to follow that and go to that job interview? Like, you might be holding out for the Cazimi to see ultimately what's revealed. Good luck. We've got Libra and Libra rising. What's up, Libra? You're going to be doing this new moon in the sign of Gemini, and it's in a fellow sister air sign. So if you're like 5, 6, 7 degrees Libra, sun, moon, or rising, this will be trining you, which means it's super positive. In fact, I think Libra risings are really going to love this because you're the only sign that's going to be experiencing a grand air trine. So take your placements included, and you see some kind of activation from the 1st, 5th, and 9th house. Now, the 9th house in a nutshell, obviously this is a house that's about travel. This is also about higher education, beliefs, learning. It can be about new mentors coming in, initiating new legal matters, getting ready to publish things, teaching things, that kind of stuff. So, a new moon in the 9th house is definitely a good time to be expanding your horizons. And this could mean that, you are considering learning something new. You want to share wisdom with other people. I would encourage you guys with some of the aspects that you're having to really lean into the fact that, change can be scary. Pluto in the 5th house is like, how serious are you about finding love? How serious are you about being creative or being self-employed? How serious are you about healing the inner child? Pluto in the 5th. If you're serious about this stuff and if you're willing to do some of that necessary work, then you can find the right authors, the right teachers, the right people to help you do that. Learning, 9th house, especially connecting to new creative tasks. So if you want to learn how to paint, dance, sing, that kind of stuff, great. You can go and, find a new course or find a new teacher. This can also be related to education and children, learning about children, learning about childhood development, maybe planning trips revolving around children can be another theme here. And then you're also going to see sextiles that will be happening to Saturn and Neptune in your 7th house. So it's saying that there can be lots of lessons coming in also from relationships, maybe traveling and relationships, planning trips. It can also be really great for graduation ceremonies, weddings. If you guys are like, oh, I got engaged, I want to start planning a wedding, you could be doing that. Especially with Venus in your 7th house trine Mars, it's saying that it could be really great for anything in connection to relationships and unions and bringing people together. Enroll in a course, plan a trip, explore new beliefs and philosophies, go and pick up a new book on a topic of something that you've been wanting to learn, share your insights through writing or potentially through teaching. I predict that there's going to be a new perspective and definitely an opportunity for growth will arise, possibly through travel or education. Just keep in mind that, Jupiter's square to the north and the south node is really urging you to balance between logic and faith. Kind of tricky, right? And that's why I say go on a trip or either integrate a new philosophy or belief system or pick up a book from a new author because that can really help you kind of expand. I think a lot of Libra risings are going to have the travel bug. Just kind of speaking from experience, having a Libra rising, going through this, it's just me kind of being like, where do I want to go? I need to go somewhere. And just there not being enough of it. And I think that that can be satisfied if you can't really travel or if you're not enrolled in a program through learning. So it's really good to be learning or doing research into places that you may potentially be traveling to. the card that I get is funny. The Fool. All right, which is like, I need to go and do something. I need to break free. And some of you guys might feel like that. I think some of you guys will. With the trine to Pluto, it's like, I don't care. I'll do anything in the pursuit of, fun or, pleasure or love or, taking risks or taking chances. And this is about Uranus as well, which is interesting, as Uranus is getting ready to go into your 9th house, Libra. So you're going to be finding there is going to be lots of spontaneous traveling, over like the next 8 years or so. There is going to be potentially, going back to school or embracing a wild new kind of philosophy. Taking risks. I think with the Fool card, it's kind of saying, if it's time for you to take a risk and do something, the time is now. And maybe it's just about how you're approaching and your philosophy about some of those changes that are going to be kind of coming in for you, and taking a leap of faith. I think that's definitely the case with a new moon and Jupiter in your 9th house. This is the house that's about good blessings and receiving things, right? And so it's all about your frame of mind of like, okay, well, if I do this, is it going to be worst case scenario? No, be optimistic about some of the things that you're planning in the 9th house, and take a chance. Good luck. All right, we've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's up, Scorpio? You're going to be doing this new moon in the sign of Gemini, and it is in your 8th house, which is a house that's familiar to you. But the 8th house is quincunx your sign. So it kind of means that you're not going to see some of the new seeds that are being seeded. So you're going to have to be a little bit more extra aware, and maybe digging deep and shining a light on some 8th house topics that could actually bring you a significant amount of wealth. It could bring you a huge psychological shift for the better intimacy, more vulnerability, and clearing out some emotional gunk that can kind of be in your 8th house. Now, obviously the 8th deals with shared resources. It's about transformation, death and rebirth, but things like inheritance, taxes, investments, your partner's money, as well as sex and intimacy. So we've got the new moon here. It is going to be coming into a trine with Pluto, which is very positive for you, as Pluto obviously is the kind of ruler, one of the rulers of your chart. So it's directly talking to you, Scorpio. It's basically saying, okay, if you have this goal of something that you want to change and transform on the home front, if you want to remodel a house, if you want to buy a new home, if you want to move across the country, if you finally, want to make time to focus on your private life, your home life, your family, then this is about you digging deep and going, I'm going to kind of set these seeds in motion. I'm going to plant them to be able to grow and bring in more security, more resources. And I think, just emotionally feeling a little bit more secure over the next 6 months. The way that you change, Scorpio, is when you change your mind, when you shift the way that you think or the way that you communicate. That's where all the goodies is. So I think that with the new moon in the 8th house, I would be focusing on deepening your connections. That could mean you're reading and learning more about psychological matters. You're having deep, kind of conversations. Maybe you're discussing joint finances. Maybe there is this focus on setting intentions for having more trust in relationship, or exploring some kind of transformative, therapeutic, kind of service. I also feel like for you guys, this is going to be about intimate or financial discussions that can actually lead to empowerment. Pluto's trying to supporting profound changes in how you share your resources with other people, whether that's a spouse, a roommate, a partner, really looking into borrowing, lending, loans. There could be opportunities to refinance mortgages with these trines. There could also be a huge financial shift, which could lead to, within 6 months' time, a profound shift in your home zone, which I know has been frustrating in recent months under the Mars-Pluto opposition, but that's done. And what's beautiful about your new moon is that not only does it trine your one of your rulers, Pluto, but we also see your other ruler, Mars, in your career sector coming into a trine with Venus in the 6th. So that means that you're incentivized to get out there and work, right? To be seen, to get the job done. And the trines to Venus in your sixth means maybe you have support from a partner helping you reach some of these goals. It could be an assistant, it could be somebody at work. Also, through awareness of health and wellness and like making sure that you're taking time to yourself or you're doing things for you. It's going to make you feel better balanced and like more, I think, passionate about what you're doing in the world professionally. Anyway, good aspects all around. Be mindful that a lot of the opportunities that are coming, you're not going to see. Have those conversations about credit, intimacy, fear, debt, all the things. That's all eighth house stuff. And when you get it out in the open, then you can really start to focus on that transformation in the fourth and in the eighth house over the next 6 months. I love this. You get the Magician. Mercury trine Pluto is so powerful. I mean, I feel like this is like mind over matter. The eighth house is about alchemy. It is about making magic happen and changing and transforming things. So as you see Mercury coming into this house, forming a trine to Pluto, it's about you going like, okay, what am I afraid of? Okay, well, if I'm afraid of that and I'm putting energy into that, like, am I manifesting it? So it's all about shifting how you think. It's also making you realize that the things that you're craving are much closer than you think. And whether that's like an intimate partner, if it could be more money, if it could be better emotional or mental health, like it's all there. All you have to do is be bringing it into existence. You have to bring it down. So the Magician teaches us that as above, so below. So if we can think about it, manifest it, hold on to it, and also realize that we have all of the resources in front of us to be able to make those things possible, we can make magic happen. So there's lots of magic in words, thoughts, and ideas, especially with Mercury trine Pluto. I would be writing everything down that you're manifesting, but like in the I have, I have received, I have achieved, that kind of stuff. And you'll realize that words are like little mini spells and that you can actually see lots of, magical things that can happen, I think, with this new moon. So in 6 months' time, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when you're having your full moon here, that could be a huge emotional, financial, or psychological shift for the better. You got to make it happen, Scorpio. Let me know how that goes. All right, so we are going to have Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. What's up, Sag? You have a new moon in your opposite sign, Gemini, in your natal 7th house of relationships. So obviously this is all about partnerships, relationships, and contracts, okay? Your clients, your therapist, your astrologer, your romantic partners, your business partners, all these people. And what's fun about this is that Jupiter, your chart ruler, is also in this house, okay? And what you will see as we're inching our way to June, right before Jupiter changes signs and it goes into Cancer, you're going to see Mercury come into conjunction with Jupiter. So there is something big that's kind of building over the summer when it comes to your relationships. Uranus is going to come in and shake up your relationships where somebody's going to show up or somebody's going to depart. You have this new moon where you can set intentions for meeting new people or connecting more deeply with others. And then you also have the conjunction to Mercury. So it's very relationship oriented for my Sag and Sag risings. I think the trine to Pluto is great for communication. So it could be communication with siblings, with neighbors. It could be contracts. It could be working on websites. It could be, traveling and meeting people online on apps. So the themes here are going to be collaboration, obviously romance, and 7th house diplomacy, mutual understanding. So if you're partnered, this could be about strengthening partnerships through open communication and really setting intentions for balanced, intellectually stimulating relationships, talking or debating about things, reading books together, traveling together, that kind of stuff. If you're single, I think this is where you set intentions where you're like, okay, I'm ready to mingle and I'm putting myself out there. And it's going to be hard not to see that over the next couple of months. Obviously, it'll take 6 months to fully develop, but from this new moon all the way through about August, you're going to see your relationship lives kind of lit up. Now, this is trining Pluto, so it's great for like traveling and meeting people or meeting people on apps, but it's also sextiling Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house of romance, children, and creativity. So some of you guys are very serious about finding love with Saturn in the 5th. Maybe this means that, if you're self-employed or you have your own business or there's like a side hustle, especially anything creative or artistic, you're focusing on finding people that you can kind of sell to, or like people who might be interested in your marketplace. So it's a good time to start thinking about that if that's the kind of work that you're in. I would just recommend, for you guys, right? I guess my prediction is that there will be new or improved relationships, and this can be business or romantic. Likely, I think the Venus-Chiron conjunction is going to bring opportunities for healing through vulnerability. And I love that Venus is in your 5th house of romance and children. I love that it's sextiling Jupiter. If you have kids, you're going to be finding that your relationship with them is growing stronger and it's improving, or that there's more opportunities to spend with them. And also, I think that this is just like a whirlwind summer for my single Sag risings. A lot of you guys are going to find that there's going to be sudden opportunities for relationships to pop up. You're meeting somebody, you're traveling with them a lot. Maybe you're moving together. That could be something else that could be happening as well. And I can't say enough good things about this. The other way I could look at this is just the relationships with siblings can improve, or you're updating a website or changing a website, or reorganizing or reworking or rebranding social media because you're wanting to reach a larger audience, or you're wanting to bring in more clients. That's another way that I could kind of see that manifest. But one other thing I would say is just your chart ruler, Jupiter, is square the North and the South node, which in many ways I think is kind of saying like, okay, this is about not being too hyper-focused on work or too hyper-critical about being productive in working, or not overworking, simultaneously making time for your private life, your home life, or your family, and recognizing that relationships to some people right now is very important. It could be a relationship to a brother or a sister, a relationship to a romantic partner or a spouse, that they are going to play a role somehow in helping you kind of balance whether or not, you're working too much, or if you're making time to actually build out your kind of private life. Saturn, Neptune in the 5th house can be, for some of you guys, becoming parents. And then the sextile to the 7th house is like, well, now I need support, or the 7th house could be a second child if you have more than one kid, and needing that support from a partner, or where a second child or children are kind of impacting and influencing just how much you're working and what's kind of going on at home. So the communication with relationships and partnerships become all that much more important, right? All right, so let's see what card Sagittarius rising gets. Get the Justice card with a new moon in your 7th, right? And then you've also got Jupiter in your 7th. This is so appropriate because Justice it does have that association with Libra. It does have that association with relationships and harmony, balance, and diplomacy. So I look at this and I'm like, yeah, other people are really necessary right now. Maybe you feel like you're really weighing options when it comes to relationships. Maybe you might feel like there's a couple of different people that are, potentially presenting themselves, and that this is a time where you're looking at what other people bring to the table, right? Justice is like you need somebody that's going to kind of counterbalance you. And you might be feeling like it's good to have somebody come in that can be supporting you. It doesn't even have to be romantic. It could be there's a new therapist that comes in. There could be a new manager that comes in. Somebody who's here to communicate, help you kind of get organized and figure out which direction you need to be kind of going in with home and professional stuff. So receive support, look for other people who can be complementary to your energy, try to work with other people, and try to see where there can be some goodness in certain relationship dynamics that can actually bring you a lot of joy. Good luck. All right, we have Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys are going to be doing this new moon in Gemini in your natal 6th house. And yes, it's in a sign that in conjuncts or quincunxes you. So some of these things that are coming, you may not quite see, or you're still kind of trying to grapple with some of the new changes that are going to be coming in the 6th house. Now, the 6th house obviously deals with health. This can be also about your habits. It can be about work, your routines, your pets, coworkers, and being of service, okay? So under a new moon in the 6th house, especially when it's sextile Saturn, which is your chart ruler, in the 4th, spring cleaning, okay? Spring cleaning comes to mind. It's like getting your home office in order, getting your house in order, getting organized. Some of you guys will find that you will have just moved and now you're kind of getting back into your work schedule, or maybe it means that you've moved and now you're looking for a job. Certainly new jobs, new health opportunities, new offices, new pets, all of these things can come under a new moon in your 6th house. But it's also going to be trining Pluto in your second house of money. So it's possible some of you guys are like, hey, I'm going through some financial fluctuations. If there's been some tightness financially, you're picking up a second job, a flexible job, a gig job, right? Something that could be kind of on your free time, or maybe it means that you're having to kind of adjust and tweak your schedule a little bit because you're trying to make some more money. On the other hand, it can mean that that finances are actually doing very well, and that because you have been working, or maybe because you have been more productive, you feel satisfied. So it depends on some of your personal placements. But definitely the sextile to Saturn is get your home in order, get organized, feel good, process and deal with emotions. This could also mean that there's some home improvement projects that are happening, or that there is a need to kind of arrange your schedule around family, whether you're helping family or family is helping you. So the themes are productivity, wellness, and daily habits. Getting back to the gym, getting back into a work routine, focusing on positive mental health habits, journaling, walking, maybe even creating a home, kind of like gym, space, and like a flex space can be really good. And organize your workspace. Start that new health routine, streamline your tasks, communicate needs at work clearly, right? You have great communication aspects here. So what you need in terms of scheduling or kind of help or support, especially from assistants or like interns, especially if you work in the field of like education, traveling, anything administrative, if you work in health or if you work in writing, all of these areas are going to be particularly good, I think, under this new moon. And I predict for you guys improvements to your daily life or work efficiency is definitely likely, especially with Jupiter being there. You're going to realize that small daily changes to your habits and the way that you work can be really profound and really good for you spiritually as well. I do think that with Uranus trine the South Node, and if you're like a 20, I would say 6 to 28 degrees Capricorn Sun, Moon, or Rising, you're experiencing that Earth trine. It is possible for some of you guys that this might bring innovative solutions to your routines. Possibly also, opportunities to get creative with how you can kind of manage and navigate your schedule. I really like the sextile to Saturn and Neptune in your fourth house, though. I have to tell you, I think it's really great. I have Saturn and Neptune in my fourth house natally, and when I had Jupiter sextile in transit is when I was like, okay, I'm going to put a gym in my house and I'm going to start working out at home. And if I feel like I'm kind of bogged down with work and my schedule, at least I know I have a place that I can decompress and I can focus on my health, but also, office space, right? Or making time, because Jupiter rules your 12th house, for prayer, meditation, alone time to kind of reflect, because mental health and physical health are very much intertwined when you have Sagittarius and Gemini in the 6th and 12th house axis, and focus on those new health habits. I think that that's going to be really wonderful for you guys as well. The card that I got for you is the 10 of Wands, which makes sense. You're kind of like, all right, this has been some heavy stuff, or this is getting to be too much, or I'm ready to finally be done with this job or be done with this bad habit. This is feeling like it's hard to move on. For some of you guys, it's moving. So I know a lot of you guys are going to be either dealing with moving family, or you're switching house, or you're moving across the country. A lot of you guys are going to be dealing with this. And this is one of my moving cards. So if you are moving, or if you've been moving, it's about now unpacking, getting organized, and being like, oh, it's done. I can finally kind of rest and kind of complete this. But I feel like this is also about lightening the load. So if you feel like, you're overwhelmed with how much stuff you have on your schedule or on your agenda, or you've got too much stuff kind of going on at work, or whatever, this is about you realizing sometimes less is more. If you're better managing your schedule and what you're saying yes to, and finding ways to kind of improve, your day-to-day life, you're not going to feel like there's so much to carry. You're not going to feel like there's such a heavy kind of burden on you. And I don't know if it's health-wise, or if it's stuff with family, or if it's just with work, but I would be really leaning into the trines with Pluto, and I would be really looking at, how am I spending my money? Is my time well spent working in certain places or for certain people? This can also be wonderful if you're wanting to, have some new health habits. Certainly the trine to Pluto means you could cut certain things out of your diet, or not be consuming certain things, get a little bit more active and be doing some walking or some biking or some movement exercises, breathwork exercises, and that could be really positive for helping manage any stress, but also improving your overall physical health. Okay? Good luck to you guys. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You guys are going to be doing this new moon in the sign of Gemini in a fellow sister air sign. So if you have 5, 6, 7 degrees of Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, this is trining your sun, moon, or rising as well as Pluto. So this is pretty powerful for you guys. New moon in the 5th house is always fun. This is a house that deals with creativity, romance, dating, children, self-expression, joy, hobbies, taking chances. So you have the opportunity to set intentions there, and you're doing it right before you actually see Jupiter leave this 5th house. So you've already had a year of some of this stuff, but a new moon is really saying, okay, if I'm wanting to enter into a new relationship, start dating again, if I want to, start a new hobby, if I want to take a chance, if I want to get pregnant, all these things are things that you could do under this particular new moon, and you'll see that unfold over several months' time. So the themes here obviously are going to be self-expression, fun, and romantic connections, and things that you're really serious about. I mean, it's trining Pluto in your 1st house of self, and Pluto deals with your reputation, your professional life, also your identity out in the world. So you're committed to saying, hey, I want to live differently. I want to be seen differently. I want to get into a different type of work. I want a different lifestyle. And I want to express myself in a different way. So you're going to be feeling like, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to be more creative. I'm going to put myself out there. And I would recommend with like a new moon here, this would be good to start a creative project. Get out there and flirt, play, have fun. If you have kids, spend more time with your kids. If you don't, it might be a time where you're thinking about children. I would just embrace spontaneity and also anything that's creativity with words. So writing, vlogging, blogging, anything connecting to travel. And it also sextiles, the new moon sextiles Saturn, which is your traditional ruler. So not only do you have a sextile to Saturn in your 3rd house of communication, short distance trips, and writing, but you also have a trine to Pluto. So this is very personal for you in a way. I've seen a lot of Aquarius and Aquarius risings that are like, I'm committing to a writing schedule. I'm committing to a content schedule. I'm finally publishing my book. I'm finishing my screenplay, like these kinds of things. And it's about really, I think, expressing yourselves with your words. So very, very personal for you guys. I'm excited to see what happens. I really think that you're going to find there's going to be a creative project that's going to spark joy. And this will also be fueled, I think, by the Venus-Mars trine, where Mars is in your relationship house and is trining Venus in your 3rd house. So quick romantic getaway, maybe, meeting somebody locally, maybe. I think that this is also wonderful for, any kind of expressive moments that can kind of come about. And a lot of that's also going to be brought up by Jupiter. For some of you guys who are late Aquarius risings, Jupiter is still trining your ascendant. So you're going to see over like the next 2 months, there's lots of opportunity for new hobbies, new playmates, new opportunities to meet people, and just having a lot of fun. So I hope that this is a good one for you guys. The card that I get is the Page of Swords, okay? So this is cool because this can be talking about you as an Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, but also a Gemini or a Libra as well. Sometimes when we deal with pages, it talks about younger people or children, so like younger romantic partners, one of our kids. Sometimes it can be foreshadowing a pregnancy. Certainly with a new moon and Jupiter in your 5th house, that's possible, but not all births have to be literal. They can be creative or new relationships as well. But this is about finding your voice. This is about finding ways to kind of communicate more playfully, maybe learning more about creative writing. Maybe you're interested in a new hobby that has less to do with writing, but more to do with some kind of intellectual pursuit. It could also deal with taking courses or classes, learning languages, things like that. And this can be talking about a younger person. So if you have children, it can be putting an emphasis on your kids. It can be an indication and like a heads up that there could be a kid that's coming in. This can also mean that you're just figuring out like how to express yourself more in relationships and like how to ask questions and kind of tell people what you're looking for and be a little bit more forward about what it is that you want. This can also be indicating that there's contracts or meetings that can be coming up. So with some of the sextiles to Saturn and Neptune, that's very likely. I think it's just about asking all the right questions and being able to kind of get your point across in a way where you're learning something new about having kind of open dialogue with other people. Okay, so good luck to my Aquarius and Aquarius risings. And last but not least, we've got the Pisces and Pisces risings. What's up, Pisces? You're going to be experiencing a new moon in the sign of Gemini in your natal 4th house. And similar to obviously Virgo and Sagittarius, you're going to be experiencing a square to this particular part of your chart. So good news is that the new moon is at home in the 4th house. The 4th house deals with the home, the family, roots, one of your parents, sometimes property, as well as the past. So the moon likes to be here. But if you're like 5, 6, 7 degrees of Pisces, sun, moon, or rising, it's going to be squaring you. You're going to be feeling the growing pains equally. 25, 26, 27 degrees of Pisces, you're feeling the growing pains because Jupiter is squaring your placements as well as the north and south node. So that's a biggie for me, that your chart ruler's in the 4th house, where it says, hey, time to kind of focus on our emotions, our family. Are we traveling? Are we moving? Are we trying to figure out where it is that we want to go? Are we improving our home? All of these things can be possible. But a new moon in the 4th house is generally a time where the themes are going to be focused on domestic harmony, family communication, emotional security. Now, trines to Pluto can definitely be about security systems, cameras, anything that's going to be about making sure that you're protected. And it's not necessarily just like security. It could be that, you have some kind of new cybersecurity. Maybe you have new protective passwords on your internet. Maybe you're trying to protect and bring in like devices that can be protecting your resources even. Like it's not just like literal, but home protection can definitely be a theme. The other way that I look at this is with the trine to Pluto, it's about you kind of tapping into what's kind of ending or clearing out subconsciously and how that is playing out for you in your home or your family life, where there are certain things coming to an end, right? Not in a bad way, but like, moving into a bigger home. Okay, well, that's over. Got to say goodbye to the old home, or moving to a new space. And it's like adapting to that new space that you're going to be in and how that's impacting you emotionally or psychologically with the trine to Pluto, especially if you're doing it in a new location, a new city or a new country, and you're away from home. That can definitely be a theme. I recommend not only with the trines to Pluto, but the sextiles to Saturn and Neptune, which is your other co-ruler, in your 2nd house, that this can be a time where you're really thinking about redecorating your space, okay, and being conservative with what you're spending, but definitely redecorating your space, connecting with family, journaling about your roots, and setting intentions for a nurturing home. Now, some of you guys are like, I don't know where I'm going yet. I'm still looking. Great. The new moon's planting seeds. So if you do want to move over the next 6 months, you can, and you can find a place. I would be watching, as you're kind of getting into the June, July period, as Jupiter leaves your 4th house and goes into your 5th. You might see some significant turning points over the next 2 months. And the new moon sextile Saturn and Neptune means that you're getting really clear about what it is you do want to invest in, what you do want to buy. So you might be going back and forth between 2 cities, places, or potential options when it comes to making changes with your home. Some of you guys are going to go, do we move or do we renovate? Do we buy something big? Do we buy something a little bit small? Do we buy 2 things? And I think that's what's going to be kind of worked out over the next few months. I predict family dynamics may shift, but I think it's going to be positive. And I think you'll find comfort in your personal space because of this new moon. Just keep in mind that Jupiter, your chart ruler, is squaring the north node in your sign and the south node in your 7th house. So to me, it does kind of represent that you'll find comfort in your own personal space, right? 4th house. And, trusting your intuition if you feel like it's time for you to visit a place or kind of live flexibly for a little bit before, you end up kind of committing. Some of you guys might also be taking time away from others where you're just craving more alone time or privacy, or there is space, or there is traveling or being away from romantic partners or spouses. So that can happen with the square as well. And that you're kind of feeling like you're at a fork in the road where you're like, okay, well, if I stay here, I'm without somebody. And if I go back, do I want to be with that person? So allow yourself to be comfortable in the in-between if that's something that you're experiencing right now, because I think that's a part of the process of seeing the 2 paths before you make an ultimate decision. Anyway, Be conservative with your expenses, guys. With the sextile to Saturn and Neptune, it's like if you're going to buy something, you need to make sure you can afford it. You also need to make sure you really want it. And for some of you guys, you're willing to spend a little bit more if it's going to be the right place. And some of you guys are going, actually, I want to spend less because I want to buy down the road, or I value travel. So why do I want to spend a lot of money on rent? I want to, I'm willing to kind of do something a little bit smaller so I can go and have some of those travel opportunities, right? I like the Venus and my Mars trine for you guys as well. Resource-wise, this looks pretty good. And health and work-wise, it looks pretty good as well. So allow yourself to be maybe a little bit more focused on what's kind of going on in your home and your private life. Just trust your intuition. The card that I get is the Four of Wands, which is a really great card, especially with Jupiter in your 4th house. And this is a 4. Parties, celebrations, weddings, birthdays, get-togethers, short kind of opportunities to spend with family. So I'm wondering, is there going to be a family gathering? Is there going to be like a reunion? Are people coming to stay with you? Sometimes when you have planets in your 4th house, that happens. So you might be reconnecting with friends, family, people who you haven't seen in a while. Enjoy this time. I think it's going to be a beautiful time. And I think that it can be about, endings and new beginnings. So it can be things like people are celebrating that they're buying a new home, but they're, you have family moving away, or people are having birthdays, but you're also going to see that there's going to be, baby showers, or there's going to be funerals. Definitely with the 4th house and some of the trines to Pluto is kind of saying things are kind of turning over for you right now, but embrace the new things that are coming in, how the family and the home life is expanding, and enjoy some of the gatherings and get-togethers, because it can be a really great time, especially this can be a wedding card. So it can be an indication that there's some new kind of person or people that are going to be entering the family. And I think it's going to be really great. So you guys will have to let me know what happens with this card. All right, guys. Well, that's what I have for you for this new moon in Gemini. Obviously, we know it is a powerful one with those trines to Pluto. I really feel like this is an amazing and vibrant opportunity to really harness mental clarity, which I feel like has been lacking in recent months. So definitely embrace curiosity, set intentions for this new moon for communication and connections. Make sure you listen to your rising sign so you can really tailor your intentions based off of where this new moon is taking place in your chart. Just enjoy it, enjoy what's going to kind of transpire and manifest over the next 6 months, because I think this is going to be one of the better new moons in all of 2025. Be sure to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe, click the subscription button below, and subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel grow. If you're already subscribed, make sure you hit the bell button so you're getting alerts. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday using tarot and astrology to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. And leave me a comment. I want to know, where is this new moon in your chart? How are you feeling with the trines to Pluto? I think it's going to be wonderful. I would love to hear from you guys what new seeds you guys are planting, and how you're open to change with some of the trines, because I think it can be a wonderful new opportunity. So let me know what's happening in the comment section below. As always, thank you guys for your support, for your comments and your shares. I can't always get back to everybody, but I just want to say thank you. We're seeing a lot of growth in the channel. And I hope that this is a good and beautiful new moon for you guys. Until next time, I will see all of you very soon. Take care.